a group of kinesiology majors at the University of Maryland. Today we'll be speaking about constraints. Constraints are something that plays a part of physical, social, and financial restriction. There are three types of constraints: individual, task, and environmental. We are teaching you all about the constraints and the roles it plays in coaching Little League sports. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maisha and I'm also a part of the Knes crew. I will be talking to you guys about individual constraints. These constraints relate to a person's characteristics. Individual constraints can be classified into two categories: structural and functional. Structural is directly related to a person's physical body structures. These include height, weight, muscle mass, etc. As a coach, one should understand that structural constraints can inhibit movement. For example, when your athlete has a torn ACL, he or she will not be able to move that leg because the ACL is an important ligament needed for proper movement. On the other hand, though, functional is related to behavioral function. This includes attention, motivation, memory, fear. For example, a lack of motivation can result in a lower performance level. Also, the fear of injury can cause your athlete to not be able to perform at their highest potential.
Earlier, functional constraints include fear, lack of motivation, and anxiety. A study completed by Smith, Small, and Cummings show the importance of controlling anxiety in athletes. The study is designed to help coaches reduce their athletes' anxiety by creating a mastery task involving motivational climate. A mastery climate counteracts anxiety by reducing social comparison pressures by focusing on controllable efforts rather than incompletely controllable outcomes, which then creates a supportive team environment. It minimalizes social comparison and focuses athletes' attention on self-reference goals and personal development. Mistakes are regarded as a natural part of the learning process, not as something to be avoided because of fear of punishment from the coach. Lower anxiety will enable long-term performance in athletes. Now we will be discussing task constraints and its effects on your athlete. Task constraints are constraints that directly relate to goals, rules, and implementations. An example of goals being a constraint would be in football, when players have to run to the end zone to score a goal. An example of rules becoming a constraint is having boundary lines where players can only move and stay in bounds. Lastly, an example of implementations being a constraint is to use only a baseball bat in baseball. What we are talking about shows the importance of having goals and rules when it comes to training young athletes. The article is a health-related physical education program for 4th and 5th grade students designed to increase their physical activity during physical education classes and outside of school. Results of the study showed a health-related physical education curriculum can provide students with more physical activity during those classes. Although the study does not specifically mention coaching, it promotes having a set of rules and goals in mind when dealing with children and improving their physical activity and abilities.
Hey guys, it's me again. Okay, so the last constraint we have to discuss is environmental constraints. Environmental constraints are external forces that affect possible outcomes of an activity. There are two types of environmental constraints: physical environment and sociocultural environment. Physical environment includes light, temperature, humidity, and gravity. An example of physical environment constraints would be if a baseball field was wet. It can affect the movement of players as they run from base to base. An example of sociocultural constraints would be having a female on a football team. The opposing team would avoid tackling the female due to her gender.
It is important to know the effects of environmental constraints to your own athlete because it can either inhibit or improve performance. In an article we found, a study examined 4 themes emerged from interviews: the long-term approach, the authentic coaching environment, and creating a learning environment, as well as quality and quantity of training sessions. These themes will facilitate learning experiences for the athlete while setting high standards in both training and competition. The study's findings show that success depends on the coach's knowledge and their skill at contextualizing the necessary components for all specific situations.
Hey, it's me again. So, I hope you found this video informational and helpful in coaching Little League sports. We believe that knowing these constraints will enable you guys to have a broader understanding of the athlete's performance during practices and games. When coaching, constraints give you more information about your players. Always keep in mind that these constraints can inhibit movement movement skills and performance levels. Thank you for watching.